Let's go live to Israel now. Joining us is the IDF's international spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. Jonathan, good to see you. Thanks for your time this evening, your local time I should start with. So can you just bring us up to speed with what stage the military response is at as we speak?
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. Another very difficult day in Israel, or night here. We have finally reclaimed control over southern Israel and either apprehended or otherwise neutralized the last Hamas terrorists that were inside Israel and either holding hostages or engaged in firefights with Israeli civilians or security forces. And we have started to take control and solidify the border area. There are still attempts by Hamas and the Islamic Jihad to infiltrate into Israel and to attack communities and bases. Those attempts are effectively repelled. And as we speak, and as the footage rolls on the screen, we are indeed striking in Gaza. We are striking military targets belonging to Hamas. And we have been striking those targets for quite a few hours using the Air Force, taking measures in order to minimize civilian casualties, yet delivering very strong blows towards Hamas's military infrastructure.
Jonathan, when will the ground invasion get underway?
So what we've done in response to this unprecedented attack against Israeli civilians, and as the banner says down below, 900 Israelis have been killed, most of them civilians, which in order to find a precedent for that in Israeli or Jewish history, you have to go back to the dark times of the Second World War and the Holocaust. Never before have so many Jews been killed on one day. And it hurts to say, it infuriates to acknowledge that number. But what we are doing now is that we have mobilized about 300,000 reserve troops in less than 48 hours. They are in the south, equipping themselves and preparing for their various missions. The directives given to us by the Israeli government are to negate Hamas's military capabilities and to make sure that they do not have any military capability to conduct any strikes against Israel or to pose threats to our civilians.
Okay, are you
planning?
Sorry, Jonathan. Is there going to be? I'm assuming there's going to be boots on the ground, though, a ground invasion at some point. Is there a time frame that you're working on here?
I'm sure you don't seriously expect me to advertise that in advance.
Okay.
But it is definitely clear that we have troops along the border and that we are preparing our various military options. As of now, we are striking from the air and from the sea, and we are preparing for the future steps. You have to, of course, bear in mind that Hezbollah took the initiative here. They started this attack, and I can only assume that they planned to execute as many Israeli civilians, and they also planned what one could understand would be an automatic response on the ground by us. And as such, we are, of course, not going to rush into any Hamas pre-planned traps. And we are going to bide our time, use the weapons that we have at our disposal, and make sure that Hamas never again will have the ability to threaten, kill, or terrorize Israeli civilians.
Just on those hostages, Jonathan, Hamas is threatening to take them out if sufficient warnings aren't given about what buildings the IDF will be striking. Is that a real threat in your view?
Well, I think that nothing is beneath Hamas, an organization comprised of people that are happily able to abduct civilians, women, children, elderly, infants, toddlers, and disabled people, civilians from Israel into Gaza. An organization that does that as a mission, I am sure it would not be beneath them to actually follow through that threat that you just mentioned. But we will focus on our military operations. It is an extremely sensitive situation, and the Prime Minister spoke about it before. We are focusing on getting those hostages out. but we are also simultaneously striking Hamas's military infrastructure. And it is an unprecedented situation of complexity. We are at war. This is not another round of fighting between us and Hamas. And may I just add that it is not only along our southern front. There have been attacks on Israel in the north as well. Rockets have been fired and attempts by Palestinian terrorists have been made to cross into Israel. They have been repelled. And it is, I think, extremely important that anybody around the world make a clear statement about supporting Israel and making sure that everybody understands Iran, Lebanon, Hezbollah, and all of the other organizations and parties that Israel enjoys the full support and backing of the international community after these atrocities that were done against Israel.
Okay, Jonathan, there's so many more questions I'd like to ask you, but we're out of time, unfortunately, and I know you're very busy as well. But that's Jonathan Conricus there, the IDF's international spokesperson, joining us live. Jonathan, appreciate that. Thank you.